Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name is Claire. I'm a contract librarian on assignment here with NOAA Central Library, and I'll be your host this afternoon. This seminar series is offered through the NOAA Central Library Seminar Program, which provides an educational forum for the presentation of ideas, research updates, and news in support of NOAA's mission. This is the fourth in a five-part series. The next in this series will be on Wednesday, October 6th at noon. Before we start, I have a few technical tips for attendees. Just so you are aware, you are muted and you are not able to unmute. However, if you have a question, you can type it into the question or chat panel and we will get to those during the Q&A sessions during the presentation. If you are having any audio or visual issues, if you can't hear the speaker or see the slides, please try logging off and logging back on, and that solves most issues in GoToWebinar. As a reminder, this is being recorded. If you'd like to revisit this seminar or view previous seminars, you can find them on our YouTube channel. Now I'm going to hand it over to Kiana, who's going to get the presentation started.
Thank you, Claire. Hello, everyone. My name is Kiana Campbell, and I'm the Veteran and Disability Employment Manager from the Office of Human Capital Services. Today, I have the pleasure of being joined by my colleagues from the Office of Human Capital Services, Christopher Barron, the Pathways Program Manager, and Kamilah Starks. Chris is our ghost off-screen slide director. Kamilah will be presenting for us today, and she's a human resources specialist within the Office of Human Capital Services Executive Resources Division, where she provides technical advisory support for comprehensive human capital management services for the Senior Executive Service, SL, and Scientific or Professional Appointments, ST, within NOAA. In addition, she serves as the program manager for the Executive Strategic Outreach and Recruitment Program, ESOR. Kamilah, please take it away.
Hello, everyone. Can you see me? Everything looks great. Wonderful. Hello. I'm excited to be here today. I'm delighted and honored to be a part of the OHCS Library Series session. As Kiana so graciously said, I am the program manager for the Executive Strategic Outreach and Recruitment Program. This program, the optimal goal of the program is to deploy strategic advocacy and talent management activities that will help to reduce barriers with attracting, recruiting, and retaining a more significant number of individuals within, I don't like to say underrepresented, I'll say undertapped communities. And it also empowers long-term succession planning for NOAA senior leadership positions. Ultimately, so that our senior leadership is more reflective of the individuals in the country that we serve. Supporting and participating in events like the Library Series session is an example of the outreach activities that help us to move the needle forward with establishing a true culture, not just talk, of diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility here at NOAA. Today, my ultimate goal is for you to leave with more insight, resources, and empowerment to confidently move forward in your pursuit of senior leadership positions, or to have the tools needed to increase the readiness of your staff for future leadership. So let's go ahead and get started. As you can see by the title, are you ready to join leadership ranks? Next slide, please. Let's go over our agenda. So today, my goal is to give you an overview of some of the senior leadership positions we have here at NOAA. That includes the SES, the ST, and the SL. We'll also take a view through a candidate's journey into the SES. We'll give an overview of application materials and processes, and we're going to assess the tools and the resources needed to increase readiness for senior leadership positions. Finally, we're going to discuss some myths and some FAQs. As we go on throughout the process, like Kiana mentioned and like Claire mentioned, feel free to ask questions. This is an opportunity for you to get all the information you need to help you feel confident as you move forward in pursuing senior leadership positions here at NOAA. Next slide. So let's start with a few questions. What excites you most about pursuing leadership positions? Feel free to answer. There's no wrong answer, as we know. You can list a few things, you can list one thing. Okay.
I don't see anything yet, Kamilah. Give them a second.
Sure. Chris, you may just have to click once. It has some animation to it. There we go. What excites you most about pursuing senior leadership positions? And if you're not quite there, that's okay too. You can say that as well.
How about the opportunity to lead a diverse group of people?
That's a great question.
To exercise my leadership skills, grow talent for the organization.
Awesome, awesome, awesome responses. All right. So let's move on to the next question. What concerns, if any, do you have about pursuing senior leadership positions specifically here at NOAA?
Okay, here's some from the implementing change on a meaningful level.
Absolutely. I think we all have that concern. All have that concern. Wonderful. Great questions. Let's move on to the next slide. So let's talk about why this SES exists. It was originally established via the Civil Service Reform Act of 1978, essentially placing a structure of top management positions into the personnel system. It's designed to be a core or a cadre of executives across government selected for their leadership qualifications and skills that aren't normally required of most employees. These individuals most frequently interact or report to political leadership, and the executive positions include managerial, supervisory, and policy classified positions, policy positions classified above general schedule GS-15 or higher. Next slide, please. Why do you want to join the SES? I think, like for most of us, we want an opportunity to influence change. One of the main reasons we find that individuals are interested in pursuing the SES is to make significant decisions that can affect the direction the agency goes in and ultimately produces results. In addition, we found that they want to become a cadre of professionals who have similar public service motivation and goals. So this essentially means that they feel involved in a group of individuals across government who are pursuing the same goals. Next slide. The good part, let's talk about the money. So compensation for the SES performance management system is divided into two groups, whether your agency has a certified performance management system or a non-certified performance management system. As you can see here, there are there's distinctions with the salary depending on if your system is certified or not, where the minimum for a certified system starts at $132,552 and goes up to a maximum of $199,300. And this is for this current year. So of course, as we enter into 2022, the salary increases dependent upon the approval that we receive from Congress. In a non-certified system, you see that you have a lower amount of compensation you're able to offer when recruiting for your senior executive positions. This is why it's very important to establish our performance management systems, maintain them with the accurate information that OPM requests of us, so we can offer a competitive salary to individuals that are pursuing SES positions here at NOAA. We currently do have a certified system, so we're able to offer the higher rate salary. Next slide. So let's talk about some of the benefits. The benefits of being an SES specifically are that you have 8 hours of annual leave per pay period. So you have a 720-hour max limit annually. You're entitled to performance awards and bonuses dependent upon the results of your performance accomplishments and goals. You're also eligible for presidential rank awards. Presidential rank awards are awards that are given, of course, by the president to highlight and to award individuals who have performed exemplary within the performance cycle. And they receive notoriety, of course. It's published formally in many areas throughout government, identifying these specific individuals as performing exceptionally. In addition, you're entitled to recruitment, relocation, and retention bonuses, up to 25% of basic pay, and this is all dependent upon policy as well. And you're able to receive student loan repayment. This varies by agency. Next slide, please. Let's get into the candidate's journey into the SES. Next slide. So there are a few abbreviations and definitions that you may hear when pursuing a position within the SES, things like the ERB. The ERB is the Executive Resources Board. This is an agency-level committee charged with advising the agency on the hiring of SES individuals. So here at NOAA, we do have an ERB. It's comprised of executives that are also here at NOAA, and they help to make decision-making and provide advisory support with the selection of individuals, which is one component of their responsibilities. They also have additional responsibilities when it comes to advising the UNSEC in regards to SES appointments. The QRB is the Qualification Review Board. This is an interagency panel comprised of many different executives at OPM. They manage and administer it in order to review and approve SES applicants for entry into the SES. So when you are ready to pursue an SES position and you apply for it by USA Jobs, and you submit your ECQs, your executive core qualifications, which is up next, the board at the QRB will then determine if your examples and your narratives meet the executive competencies that will support you in performing the duties of the position that you applied for. ECQs, like I mentioned, this is a set standard criteria used to assess the candidate's executive level experience. The TQs, or sometimes you may hear it said as PTQs, are the technical qualifications. So these are the job specific, which is a more narrow based on the technical requirements for the job, whereas the ECQs are more standardized executive level qualifications that we review. So you may hear me use these terms throughout the presentation. Next slide. So I think one of the most daunting tasks for individuals who are pursuing SES appointments is the writing process for their ECQs. So we're going to go through some of the guidelines and resources that OPM can provide for us, and we're going to go through some of the processing in establishing and writing your ECQs. Next slide. What is the purpose of the ECQs? So there are 5 ECQs with multiple competencies within each ECQ that's used to describe the leadership needed to succeed in the SES and reinforce the concept of an SES corporate culture. It's designed to assess executive experience and potential, but not necessarily technical expertise. And originally, how the cadre and the SES program was designed is so that no matter what office or technical function or mission goal that an individual is responsible for leading, they should be able to be placed into that position and be able to thrive in it, irregardless of their technical expertise or their technical background. So for instance, if you are the CHICO or Chief Human Capital Officer, you can be placed or reassigned into an office of a more highly technical area, such as the Chief Information Officer or the Chief Financial Officer, and be able to confidently lead that area without the concern specifically of the technical expertise. Next slide. The ECQs. So as I mentioned before, there are 5 core ECQs. We have leading change, leading people, results-driven, business acumen, and building coalitions. Now in this chart, you see a list of all the competencies that you will need to address within your ECQ narratives. Now I know this may seem really daunting. You may think, how am I going to be able to describe all of this based on my experience? However, the goal is to provide as much information that hits the mark in the competencies to show how you have leadership experience. You may not be able to cover all of them, but you'll also find at times when you're ready to start preparing your ECQs that some of the information can be overlapped and some of the information is already provided once you start to begin to write your narratives. I won't go into too much detail in at this time because I think it's a little daunting, but I want to remind you, if you have any questions in relation to the ECQ writing process, if you need any assistance with assembling or beginning to write your ECQs, the Executive Resources Division is here to support you with that goal. I will provide our email address later in the presentation so that you can reach out to us if you have any questions in regards to beginning to write your ECQs. All right, next slide. Another component of the ECQ writing process is giving an overview of the fundamental competencies. There are 6 total fundamental competencies that every executive should be able to complete. So that includes, of course, interpersonal skills. You have oral communication, integrity and honesty, written communication, continual learning, and public service motivation. Within your ECQs and each component of it, you should be able to reflect how you possess these 6 competencies in addition to writing specifically on the ECQ competencies. It sounds challenging, but it's not. You'll find that as you start to write and as you start to expand on your examples, you'll find that you've already expressed that you have interpersonal skills when you're writing to your leading change ECQ or your leading people ECQ. And some of those skills will be able to be expressed within your writing. Next slide, please. So there is a certain format that OPM requires for ECQs to be comprised in. It's called the CCAR, or the Challenge Context Action Results. I think this is the simplest method to help you start to establish your ECQs. It's a great tool. OPM has lots of resources, which I'll also share with you later in the presentation and provide any additional links after the presentation if you need it. And we'll go into sort of how that process works. This is the beginning point with how you start to write your ECQs. So we'll go to the next slide. So here's the CCAR model flow. It starts with describe the challenge. As you begin to write your ECQs, you want to describe the specific challenge or goal. It doesn't necessarily have to be a challenge that you were presented with. You're then the next step is then to describe the context, the background. What's the environment like? What are the people like that you work with? What was the context of the importance to the mission or to the office goals? You want to describe that so that the reader has an understanding of the significance of this specific problem or the goal. Next, what did you do? Discuss the specific actions you took to address your challenge or to meet the goal. Lastly, you want to describe your results. Now, this is the most important step of your narrative or your examples that you provide in your ECQs, because this is where the Qualifications Review Board, or the QRB, is able to identify either a quantifiable or a quality improvement. We want it to be as specific as possible, where you describe the measures, the outcomes that it had specifically on the organization or even your office. So this demonstrates your ability for effective leadership. And that's very important. That's one of the key components of being an SES is what were your results? Next slide. All right, so we have an example. Here we have an example from NSPO, the NOAA Satellite Program Office, where the individual writing their ECQs describes the challenge. In 2013, their office lacked a formal corporate and strategic approach to managing and operating its web assets. In addition, this individual faced some strong resistance with their initial efforts in implementing change. What's the background information? Well, they tell us the agency had taken a completely decentralized approach to the web operations, which produced a high amount of redundancy and duplication. You can see sort of in the structure of the narrative, you don't really have to write as much information as you may have once thought when assembling your ECQs. Moving on next, what did you do? So the actions described here says, I demonstrated how the current approach was highly duplicative and ineffective. And I created and led a study group. So you're telling us what they are able to do to sort of mitigate the challenge. What were their results? Their end results have resulted in feature in the NOAA strategic plan. And they also identified that user satisfaction went up by 62%. So this goes back to what I mentioned previously, how your results have to reflect either quantifiable or quality improvements or outcomes. The individual highlighted that they were featured in the NOAA strategic plan, which is of course a serious and impactful result, and that user satisfaction was even able to be measured as an improvement by 62%. Next slide. So, critical top 10s. These are some things that OPM recommends, and we and ERD and NOAA also recommend. Remember, context is everything. You are writing your story. You want the individual reading your story to fully understand the dynamics of your experience and your narrative. Remember, it's always and it says how, but I like to say who, what, where, when, and why. You want to provide a full 180 perspective of, even at times 360 perspective of your story. So tell it. Use your own words. Express how you felt, what you encountered, the environments in the experience or in the example, and write it in clear, logical, complete sentences and paragraphs. We also recommend, and this is also some more practical advice, don't use bullets. Don't copy and paste from your resume either. These examples must be written in narrative format. You want to emphasize metrics over objectives. So when you talk about your results, you're not just saying it improved exceptionally. You want to say it improved by 26%. You want to make sure that you have some quantifiable metrics there in your results. Specifically, I would say that's important here at NOAA, where we are a primarily scientific agency. We want to be able to see the data behind your results. Next slide. So, some more critical top 10s. Avoid NOAA slang. Your ECQ package will be reviewed by a panel of SES cadre members throughout government. Some may not be aware of some of our abbreviations or language here at NOAA, so you want to be as descriptive and as clear as possible. Of course, after you provide the full information regarding a name, you can always abbreviate it later in your narrative examples, but you want to be able to clearly address the challenges, the actions, the individuals participating in your actions with the results so that everyone can understand. Like I mentioned, you want to spell out acronyms. You want to use strong action verbs and active voice. You want to show the independent activities that you took to bring about the change and the results. While it's important to have a team environment, while it's important to show that you are a part of a team environment and a team player, this is the opportunity to show how you shine. You want to be the superstar. You want to also provide 2 solid scenarios per ECQ. So this is a big requirement. It also helps you to fully address all the competencies that you are required to do. There is one area within business acumen where it's kind of challenging because you're required to show how you have obtained or how you pursue human capital management, information technology management, and financial management. So those can get kind of tricky because you have 3 major competencies that you have to address in 2 solid examples. So it is able to be done. It's just a matter of how you format it. The goal, of course, is for your ECQ package to not exceed more than 10 pages. This is an OPM requirement and not a NOAA requirement. And last but not least, use the best proofreader you can find. We always recommend find an SES member that you are comfortable with, or even a supervisor, or even if you have to contract a company to come in and proofread your ECQs, because grammar is very important when it comes to the QRB review. They look at every detail. Next page. All right, so we're moving on. The professional technical qualifications. That's what we call it here at NOAA. You might hear it called the mandatory technical qualifications. Either way, these are the specific technical skills and abilities that not only the hiring official, but also the QRB, the ERB, I'm sorry, here at NOAA want to see your examples of. So let's go on to the next slide. Here's some sample PTQs. So these were pulled from a PD, an SES PD. And you can see the language here. It describes specific technical requirements for financial management and the ability to effectively provide leadership to a financial management program. We see another PTQ where it describes overseeing large-scale operation prediction programs, more of the scientific scope with tropical meteorology processes. And last but not least, we see an example from applying federal laws or policy as it relates to commercial processing of seafood products. So these are the technical qualifications that you will be responsible for responding to, in addition to the ECQs when submitting your package for SES positions. In addition, for SL and for ST positions, PTQs are the only required qualifications in addition to your resume and CV that you will have to submit for those vacancy announcements. Next slide, please. All right, resumes. Every document matters. So your resume is also a tool that you'll use to reflect your experience at the executive level. However, OPM wants you to submit them in a certain format so that it's able to complement your ECQs during submission. Next slide. So what is the purpose of the resume in an SES application? It demonstrates your progress over the years. It shows leadership experience and responsibility increasing over time. That is, of course, your goal. It also helps you to document your skills, responsibilities, results, and impact from your work that will help you to demonstrate your ability to fill a specific leadership position. Next slide. Tips and best practices. Provide information beyond what is already in your ECQs or PTQs. You don't want to use your resume as a tool of repetition for information that you already mentioned. This is an opportunity for you to include information that maybe you didn't have enough space or time to be able to address in your ECQs or PTQs. Make yourself shine. This, your resume is also an action-oriented, gives you the ability to use action-oriented leadership words to describe your experience and accomplishments. And it helps you to quantify your experience wherever possible to demonstrate your accomplishments. Use numbers, percentages, dates. Give the reader and the QRB, the Qualifications Review Board, the opportunity to see in more specific areas how you were able to drive results. Do not use irrelevant information. While you may think it's cute and it's beneficial, irrelevant awards, training, or hobby is not really the focus of the QRB when reviewing your resume. And as always, proofread, 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 and get outside help to thoroughly copy edit. Now, as I mentioned again, if you are unable to find services outside, or you're having difficulties finding someone to provide copy edit or proofreading support, ERD is here to help you as well. We offer an ECQ writing service where we help to prepare individuals who are pursuing senior leadership positions with the assembly of their ECQs. And if you have a specific job announcement that you are pursuing with the PTQs, and also with the assembly and the writing of your resume. Next slide. So it's kind of tiny, but hopefully you could see it. Here's typically what applicants provide in their SES application package in relation to their resume. So you have the full name, your contact information, all important information. The vacancy announcement is also good to provide because sometimes you will have a different resume depending on the position that you're applying for. So it's always good to make sure that you're highlighting specifically the position that you're applying for. Educational information is very important. Sometimes it's needed, sometimes it's not. It just depends on the occupational series of the vacancy announcement or the position that you're applying for. Not all positions have positive educational requirements. So you also want to provide information about paid and unpaid experience. You want to provide information about the higher level honors or awards or special accomplishments that you may have received. Next slide. All right, scientific or professional and senior level positions. So these positions are ones that we have here at NOAA that are still considered within the senior leadership cadre. However, they have different requirements than those of SES. Next slide. Scientific or professional positions. These positions are filled via competition or directly appointed. What does that mean? So if a hiring official chooses to publicly announce for this position, meaning they want competitive standards to be applied, You will be able to apply for it via USA Jobs, or you may have the opportunity, if a hiring official identifies that you already possess the qualifications required to perform the job, they may directly appoint you into this position. Yep, that means that you could be a GS 15 or 14 or 13 or a ZP 4 or 5 individual who has the qualifications, and a hiring official may request to non-competitively, meaning you don't have to compete against anyone else, appoint you to this position. Now, there are, of course, review processes that must take place before you're fully appointed. However, this individual or individual in this type of position is responsible for leading teams. What does that mean? They're not a supervisor. Want to know the greatest benefit to this? STs and SLs get paid comparable to SES positions. That means that you have an opportunity to lead teams in a scientific or researcher perspective and scope, not have supervisory responsibilities, and get paid the same amount. So individuals in these positions are responsible for performance at a high level of research and development in the physical, biological, medical, or engineering sciences, or a similarly related field. Like I mentioned previously, they're also required to provide submission of professional technical qualifications. So even if a hiring manager decides to directly appoint you or non-competitively appoint you, you are still required to submit your professional technical qualifications. You'll receive these, or you'll be made aware of them when you are selected, so that you can provide a response to them. Next slide. All right, senior level positions. Similar to the ST positions, well, somewhat similar, competition is required prior to placement. So for SL positions, we are required to publicly announce and compete, so individuals can compete for this position. Individuals within this role are responsible, again, for just leading teams. It is non-supervisory advisory support that they provide to senior leadership. Their performance is based on projects or goals and demonstrated models, such as research operations. In addition, they're considered managerial level, however, they don't provide any supervisory duties. Individuals within this role and during the application process are also required to submit professional technical qualifications responses. Next slide. All right, here's the good part. How do I assess or increase my readiness? So I've broken this down into 2 stages. Next slide. Let's talk about it from a candidate's perspective. How do I know when I'm ready to apply? Well, you want to evaluate your reasons for wanting to be a senior leader, whether that is an SES, ST, or SL. It's not a decision you should take lightly, and it is one that if you are interested in, you should be prepared to commit to the process. The application process may not come as smoothly as may not come as smoothly as you would have liked it to, or you would like it to. So it's an area where you want to make sure that your reasons and your desires for this are from a good space. As I mentioned in the goals before, as I mentioned in the slides before, individuals within these roles have a significant impact on the leadership of an agency's mission. In addition, you want to review your experience against your ECQs. Do you meet them? Look at the last 5 to 10 years of your performance write-ups. Look at the last 5 to 10 years of the responsibilities that you've held. Do you see alignment with the competencies that are required in the ECQs? And as always, it doesn't matter your grade level. Start writing your ECQs now. You'd be surprised how many competencies you didn't think that you had that you do. Review and edit. This process can take anywhere between 40 to 60 hours, sometimes more, and it may take reiterations and reiterations to get it just right. Next slide. Okay, so you're a candidate. How can I increase my readiness? Identify and take on projects, jobs, task forces that require development and application of leadership competencies. Note, it's not just formal training. Opportunities like this include internal and external development assignments. You work in the line office, see if you can get a detail in the staff office. You work in operations, try to get some experience in policy. If you work in headquarters, see if there's an opportunity in the field office that you can take. In addition, don't just limit it to internally. If you're at NOAA, see if you can go to DOC or other federal agencies for experience to help develop your leadership competencies. Volunteer, volunteer, volunteer. I say it often. I apply it to myself as well. To some degree, be a yes person. If there are opportunities available, you hear about a new project or a new program that's being developed in your office, sign up. Even if you don't believe that your skill set is there to significantly provide support to it, work from where you are. You'd be surprised how you can get in environments where new programs or projects are established that you can glean from the senior leaders that are in the group that you're working with, or even from your colleagues. This may all help you to develop leadership competencies. Remember, there's also an ECQ called Building Coalitions. So that shows your ability to work well and to network. It does not specifically have to be the executive leadership skills that you think of. Request an SES, SL, ST mentor or shadowing opportunity. And it's so important, create and maintain your IDP or your individual development plan with the 70-20-10 approach. Now, I'll give you a little tip. Most executives, when they develop their executive development plan, are required to develop it with the 70-20-10 approach. So you can get a head start on it right before you're even an executive. What does that mean? Most development plans, as shown in the image below, are developed using 70% or developed with 70% of the focus on formal training. That means your workshops. That means your training at graduate school or something similar, depending on your field of work. Others, it's learning from others. 20% of it is from learning from others. And the 10%, which is usually the most minimal, is from job experiences. We're asking you to flip that. As you develop your individual development plan, try to identify job experiences as 75% of your goals for professional development. So one of the myths about the IDP is that, oh, it's used for performance needs. That's not it. This is your plan to help push your professional development forward. It is a great tool. It's a tool that I utilize. It's even a tool that I utilize in format at the grade level that I am at a ZA4, as the executives do. I look at leading change. I put leading change as one of my goals on my IDP, and I say, okay, at my level, at my skill set, how can I achieve the competencies for leading change? And it may look different for all of us. Work from where you are and reach to where you want to go. Next slide, please. Okay, so you are a supervisor and you want to know, how can I increase the readiness of my staff? It's really important for supervisors because I think they have a pivotal role in identifying and establishing developmental opportunities for all staff members. And this is specifically to participate in projects, jobs, tasks that provide development of the same leadership competencies we spoke about. I think one of the goals should be for supervisors is when you identify or there is a new program or project or task available, see if you can get an opportunity or you can create opportunities for all your staff members, regardless of their grade level, to help to develop leadership competencies. A huge step in this is allocating specifically financial resources to fulfill leadership competency training and development needs. That means you have a certain portion of your budget specifically allocated to help your staff members fulfill leadership competency training and development needs. An additional part of it is to develop and consistently maintain succession plans. OHCS provides support with this, where you can create a succession plan for your office and also consistently maintain it. This is important as skill levels and needs and assessments may shift and change. And another portion of it is to establish and encouraging ongoing maintenance of employee individual development plans. The importance of this area specifically for supervisors is that all employees should have equitable access to development opportunities. That's the ultimate goal, where we try to break down these barriers of DE, I, and A that we discuss throughout OHCS and within ERD. Also consider the flexibilities you have when it comes to choosing training sources. When developing employees' IDPs, consider a full range of opportunities like I mentioned before. Don't just focus on formal training, consider career enhancement. This includes details, operational assignments, duties, rotations, mentoring, shadowing. And then also make it a priority to adjust the IDPs as time progresses, or encourage your employees to adjust their IDPs as time progresses so that it aligns with new priorities or changing budget circumstances, and follow up with employees to ensure that they are achieving the development goals that they desire. When it comes to succession planning, you want to consider organizational goals and office goals and objectives. You want to use this to assess, analyze gaps, and of course, training needs, and use your succession planning to help assist in the development of the employees' IDPs and additional training plans. After training is completed, I think this is a key area that is important. Schedule debrief meetings with your employees. Encourage them to reflect on what they learned and ask their input on how the information they learned can be applied today within the office. This is a tool that will help to encourage employees to feel empowered. Also, it helps them to retain the information they learn and to be able to apply it, where we discussed that those job experiences are the #1 factor that helps to drive development for leadership competencies. Next slide. All right, so we're sort of getting to the end. Here's some FAQs. If you have any, feel free to throw them out there. The #1 FAQ we normally get is, do I have to be a GS 14 or 15 or equivalent to qualify for one of the leadership appointments? No. Time and grade requirements do not apply for SES, STSL. So that's why I say apply, try. Start to establish your ECQs. It wouldn't hurt, doesn't matter your grade level, just pursue it. Start to get into the process of considering opportunities within senior leadership. Another question we often received is, do veterans receive hiring preferences for SE, SL, ST appointments? So it's a little tricky. Veterans preference does not apply for SES or ST appointments. However, like I mentioned, SL positions are subject to competitive examining, which means that you would have to apply on USA jobs and compete against other individuals for selection. So therefore, veterans preference must be applied. I'm a GS 14 or 15 or equivalent. Can I serve on an SES detail assignment? You absolutely can, provided that you have the qualifications and a hiring official believes that you have the ability to perform the duties of the job well. They can recommend and request for you to serve in a detail opportunity as an SES. However, OPM recommends this should be done on an absolute minimum and strictly controlled. The goal with this, of course, or the concern with this, of course, is that an individual who is not an SES would then get preferential opportunity to be able to obtain the skills and abilities performing the duties, thereby giving them preferential selection later on if they do decide to apply for the position. We want to make sure that that's not happening. Can I receive assistance with developing my ECQs here at NOAA? Yeah. We are here at ERD to help, like I mentioned, with our ECQ writing services for anyone interested in an SES, SL, or ST appointment. Another question we received, do I need to have a bachelor's or a higher level degree to qualify for an SL, SES, or ST position? Educational requirements vary, like I mentioned before. It is strongly recommended to review the entire vacancy announcement to identify all the qualifications that are required to apply for that position. Can I send my draft ECQs directly to OPM for review, certification, or approval? No. Unfortunately, ECQs are only certified or approved by OPM's QRB via the Candidate Development Program, which I'll tell you a little bit more about, or submission from the competitive hiring selection process, essentially through your application. Next slide. So here are some valuable resources. I can't stress this enough. Every link that's provided here is a resource that can help you begin on your journey to senior leadership. In terms of people, we are here. The executive resources staff is here to support you with your needs, your questions, your concerns, if you just want someone to go over the information that we discussed here today. In addition, there are also internal programs and opportunities and resources here at NOAA that can help guide you on your way. The Lantern program is one program that is, I think, awesome. I'm so excited to also utilize this service myself. It's a NOAA development program. It's used to promote employee growth, networking, and collaboration. Now, how this works is it provides in-person and remote opportunities that can be short-term or one-time. It requires either a week or a month or 6 hours, and the detail opportunities ranging from 30 days to a year. Assignment requests can be submitted 24/7, 365 days a year, and it goes on both sides. Are you a hiring official or a supervisor that has a specific need that needs to be filled in a time frame that you're unable to accomplish it with the resources in your office? Submit a request, submit a lantern request. Are you an individual who's looking to develop whether it be leadership or technical skills in an area that maybe is new to you or that you have the qualifications for and you just want to push the needle forward with your performance development? Sign up and see what assignments are available for you to join. In addition, there's the NOAA mentoring program. This is a fairly new program that was established to provide mentoring support for both individuals as mentees and as mentors. All programs have specific instructions that you can find out more about from the links included. In addition, NOAA provides an overview of all NOAA learning program offerings. This gives you an overview of all the areas that you could sort of tap into to begin to identify resources and opportunities to help you build the competencies you need to further your goal of becoming a senior leader here at NOAA. In addition, we also have the Leadership Competencies Development Program, also known as LCDP. Unfortunately, LCDP selection process has already begun for the next 2 years. It's an 18-month program. The next availability for opening will be in 2023, I believe, but please, this is the perfect time to begin to start to consider, is this an area that could help me to develop my leadership competencies? It's a great program where you're sent on multiple assignments, and you're also using the time to help develop the competencies and the examples needed to build your ECQs. I have a whole host of OPM tools and guidelines that you can access and take some information on. Every link here, if you have the time, provided you are committed to this, is a resource to help you produce the best ECQs. Also a resource to help you identify, well, what training do I take? I don't even know where to start. These tools, specifically the effective learning interventions, provides individuals with specific examples of training opportunities to help you to develop ECQ competencies in each ECQ. So it's not just a broad overview. They break down ECQ 1 to ECQ 5 and all the competencies in between and provide you resources for training that you can take. The Guide to SES Qualifications is also a great tool. I recommend reading every single one so that it can help empower you to prepare for your senior leadership pursuits. And of course, external training. So where do I go? What can I do? The Partnership for Public Service has multiple programs geared to help federal employees on their journey through professional development. There are some areas that are more related to sort of the core groups of government work when we think about human capital management, or we think about the chief financial officer, or the CIO office. However, there's an opportunity there to learn. One of the things that I personally do like about the Partnership for Public Service programs is that they provide opportunities where you can receive training that's not just geared to lecture based, but you have an opportunity to do conversations and case analysis and role playing so that you're able to get comfortable in roles, leadership roles that you may not have had exposure to before. In addition, the OPM Center for Leadership Development, it provides a variety of courses and training options that are available. And in some instances in their description, they'll tell you what competencies they help you to achieve, what competencies they meet as it relates to ECQs or the alignment. Brookings at Washington University, great opportunity, specifically geared for leadership training. I have been able to participate in some Brookings courses in the past, and I absolutely love it because I'm a small fish in a big pond, and I'm able to get into environments where there are leaders there that I can glean from and I can learn from, and then I can begin to apply some of the competencies and skills I've been able to learn. In addition, I think one of the most innovative offerings that USA Jobs has provided, similar to our NOAA Lantern program, is open opportunities. So I mentioned that Lantern provides detail opportunities or assignment opportunities varying in length, time, and requirements. Open opportunities also does that, but this is government-wide. So you have an opportunity to identify areas where you can increase your professional development, go and work or be on a detail in an area that may not necessarily be familiar to you at a different agency, just to sort of get a different perspective on how missions and goals are achieved and how you can participate in there as well. These active on-the-job training opportunities, I think, are so beneficial, and it's a tool that isn't necessarily utilized as much, but it is growing in participation. The Open program offers the Open Opportunities program offers professional development opportunities to federal employees and internships to students. So it's not just limited to those that are already that are current federal employees. It fosters collaboration and knowledge sharing. You're able to break out of your routine. You're able to make new contacts and join a community of innovators. You're able to work remotely or in person. And you're able to choose from a wide variety of projects across government that you can participate in. To me, I hear check the box on so many competencies when reading the description of that. That'll help you to pursue your goals for senior leadership. All the OPM tools and guides are great resources for establishing your IDP as well, and for identifying effective training opportunities. So I thank you all for joining us today. I hope that I provided you information that was beneficial and that you can take back and apply. Like I mentioned before, NOAA.executiveresources@noaa.gov is available. Our office is here to help support you in your goals and to answer your questions. I thank you again today. Are there any questions, Kiana?
Thank you, Kamilah. This was so inspiring for all of us. So I do have a couple questions for you. One is, does your office do anything to advertise these opportunities to diverse audiences?
So it depends on which opportunities you're mentioning. So for our vacancy announcements and our vacant positions we have here at NOAA, we do have a directory of what I try to call diversity or DEI partners, where we try to share information in regards to vacancy announcements that we have open with groups and individuals in undertapped communities. So if you are one or a representative of that community and you would like to receive more information, please feel free to send us an email so we can share the opportunities that we have here. For all external resources and training or development resources that are either run by different offices in OHCS or externally, such as Partnership for Public Service. Unfortunately, we are not able to provide that information. However, the websites provided are a great resource for you to learn more and to stay in contact to see what opportunities are available.
Okay, so how do I overcome the challenge of a supervisor who consistently presents the same individuals within our office with opportunities? So I'm guessing training opportunities or detail opportunities.
That's challenging. I think that's one of the barriers we've also identified when it comes to breaking through the equitable access to training and opportunities and exposure. Speak up. That's the best advice I can give you. Speak up, identify opportunities that you are interested in and present them to your supervisor as well. I know it may be challenging and a little scary sometimes to speak up when you're identifying things in the office in terms of preferential treatment. Find a workaround. Discover some opportunities or details that you're interested in and present them to your supervisor. That would be my best recommendation.
Okay, are there any requirements for the LCDP? Specifically, how long do you have to be a federal employee before applying to the program?
So that information I don't specifically have the answer to. I apologize. I'm not the program manager for LCDP, but it is a great tool to develop your leadership competencies. What I would recommend is if this presentation is being provided to you all, you can definitely search for it. They have great information on our internal websites in regards to the application process and all requirements and eligibility requirements as well.
Is the NOAA mentoring program open to contractors, or is this open to federal employees only?
Unfortunately, it's only open to federal employees.
Does NOAA offer help for helping you write the EQCs? Some of the outside companies are very expensive. Any advice or other resources?
Absolutely, we do offer that support. As long as you are committed to working with us and establishing your ECQs, we will support and match your drive for that as well. We do provide consultations in our ECQ writing service here at NOAA, yes. The email provided for that, as you can see on the screen, where it says NOAA Executive Resources Staff, that is the best contact information to reach us if you're interested in establishing your ECQs.
I have one more question, but if anyone has additional questions, we have about 6 minutes left of the broadcast, so please feel free to write those in. An additional question was, can I use experiences I gained outside of the federal government to construct my ECQs?
Absolutely. I think the misconception is that it has to be specifically related to your professional experience. Not so much. I tell this story all the time when trying to encourage individuals in writing their ECQs. I once had an individual who wrote about her role as a choir director, and her significant role in that position helped her to meet the competencies and express the competencies of leading people. Don't limit yourself just to your experiences in your professional career. Think outside the box. Think about your roles that you serve in your community. Think about if you were in the military, your roles in the military are also very impactful when it comes to expressing your story. There is not a limitation. It just depends on how you write it.
Can I use multiple experiences? In other words, if I've had multiple jobs, may I use those to construct? So does each, I guess they're asking, does each experience or have to be, each ECQ have to be related to one experience? Or can I use multiple professional experiences to address each ECQ?
So this is a little bit challenging. Primarily, OPM and the Qualifications Review Board wants to see you use a variety of examples and experiences that you've held in the positions that you've held specifically. They highly recommend that you not use the same position, same scenario to describe a narrative or describe your competencies in each ECQ. So wherever or as much as possible, you want to show how you exemplified leadership competencies or leadership experience throughout your career. I know for some individuals that may be challenging because they may have held one role maybe for 7 years. Well, in that case, then we would work with you if you're interested in receiving assistance from us of reframing and rewriting to show the distinction in the responsibilities. It may have been multiple projects in the same position. That's okay. Again, it all depends on how you present your information and how you write it.
Okay. If I'm a member of the aging workforce, is it okay to use experiences greater than 10 years ago to construct my ECQs?
No, unfortunately, OPM recommends that you keep your limitation of professional experience within the 10-year time frame.
Okay. I don't see any other questions. I think I got everyone's question. There's a lot of thanks so much. This was an incredible presentation, but I think I addressed everyone's concerns.
Wonderful.
So again, we thank you all for joining us. The final series of the library presentation will actually be October 6th, and it's with the skill bridge opportunities for veterans or for service members who are transitioning outside of the military. So we will actually feature one of the skill bridge members that we have on site at NOAA. So thanks again for joining us, and we hope to see you again on October 6th. The slides are typically sent out after the broadcast with also a link to the YouTube channel if you guys wanted to share it and actually use the links that are contained in the presentation. So thanks again for joining us. Thank you, Kamilah. This was exciting. And thanks again, Chris, for running the slides behind the scenes. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you all. Take care.